right, hello everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee Wildcast. I'm Jason Harmon, and
Markham.
We got Doug Markham
Sorry
right
about
here.
that.
That's all right.
Sorry about that.
Hop on in there.
Yeah. Hey, it's a great time of the year, isn't it? Wonderful.
We're going to talk on top of each other the whole show.
Yeah,
How about
let's do that. All right. Welcome to the show. Going to be great. We're going to be talking about a lot of fish stuff today, aren't we?
It's going to be fun.
Have you been?
I have been a little bit,
Okay.
and had some luck.
All right. Well, we're taking Tucker. Tucker's next.
Yes, we are.
All right. About a week or so.
I told him about it, and he's pumped.
All right.
So.
All right. It's shellcracker time. It's bluegill time. Crappie are getting back out in that deeper water. It's time to go try to do a little trolling for them.
Yeah.
It's a good time to be going. Turkey
Yeah.
season's over. Sorry about that. We'll have some numbers for you here in a week or two. Next week, going to be setting the seasons across Tennessee. That's going to be down in Dayton, Tennessee.
Big commission meeting.
Our commission meeting. It's one of the bigger meetings of the year, and we'll be talking about that, let you know what happens.
Yeah, and speaking of fish, real quick, back up on that. We've been seeing a lot of pictures on our social media.
Good.
Things coming in. People are tagging that TN Trophy Room, tagging that TN Wildlife on their photos, and they're seeing them on our tag board. So keep coming in and checking that out.
We want to see what you're doing out there.
TNWildlife.org.
Oh, that's fun. And keep an eye on that Facebook we got because it's really rolling across the state. If you want to learn about what's going on with your fish and wildlife in the state, the Facebook is a place to go. Our website's excellent too.
Mm-hmm.
But the Facebook, I'm proud to say, is really rolling well. And we're doing a little tweeting out there too.
Tweeting. Instagram is growing.
Yep. All of
And,
that stuff.
So anyway,
we're trying to figure out ways to talk to everybody more often.
There's neat videos out there too. If you haven't seen it, go out there and check out that hen and that snake fighting in the front yard there. So it's pretty cool.
Somebody asked out there who won.
Well, the snake got cornered and then the hen ran off. So
it was a draw?
It was a draw.
All right. You have to see it. It's a pretty cool little video. You just happened to walk outside. And
I was headed out the door and I thought, I'm going to get some pictures of that turkey running across the yard. And she ran over there and jumped on that snake. It was pretty neat.
Yeah, and they danced around for a while. It's pretty good. I wonder if she would have eaten him if she could have.
Big dinner.
Yeah, big dinner. All right. Hey, our guest today, David Roddy. David
Yes.
is the hatchery manager. He's a hatchery coordinator statewide, but I knew David many years ago. We were just talking about that before the show started. Like 30 years ago, we both started at the agency. And David, longtime manager at Springfield Fish Hatchery in Robertson County, Springfield, Tennessee. David, How long were you there?
About 23, 24 years. 23.
And it also happens to be one of, if not the oldest, warm water hatchery in Tennessee.
It's the oldest warm water hatchery, built in 1935.
35. And the amazing thing, Roger Bitts is the manager. He replaced you when you came to Nashville, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But the amazing thing about that is before you, there were only like 2 other managers.
That's right.
So like 4 managers since 1935.
Yeah, it's funny because probably for 20, 25 years, we had the same hatchery managers across the state, cold water and warm water. Mm-hmm. And now we're seeing a lot of these managers retiring or moving up. And probably in a couple of years, we'll have all new hatchery managers that we hadn't seen in 5 years. So,
and then they might be there 25 more.
Yeah, it's a passion. It gets in your blood, and it's hard to leave. It was difficult for me to leave because during this time of year, the warm water hatcheries are going at full bore, and I was like a caged rabbit. I came to the office and running back and forth, and guys upstairs just going, "There's Flash," and I'd go by their office. So it's hard to get away from it. It gets in your blood.
You literally live with it, right? Your house is right there beside the hatchery.
24/7. You sit down for a Titans game, you look out, and there's a agitator that's messing up, and you got to go out and fix it, or
midnight rain, floods.
You got to remove dam boards from the screens, and harvest is 24 hours a day sometimes. You got a lot of algae in the summer, so it is it's a big requirement that somebody's there 24/7.
It's a fight against nature every day, isn't it? Whether it might be crawdads getting in your ponds back before the liner days, which is or algae attacking or all this other things, all these diseases that can get in the water. It's constant.
Yeah, it's something just about every day this time of year.
So you don't know what's going to be. Well, David, you moved. How long has it been? You came to Nashville 3 years ago?
That's correct, yeah.
3 years ago, and you became a hatchery statewide coordinator. What does that mean?
I oversee the cold water and the warm water hatcheries. I look at my job as trying to help out these hatchery managers, help them do their job better. It's all about fish production. So if they've got a problem, I'll get phone calls saying, I got this new vegetation. What can I treat it with? Or if we run into disease, I can do research where they're still out in the hatchery doing what they need to do. So I'm kind of a support for them, and they need any assistance harvesting. I can run up there and help with that. But
Feel like old times when you do that a little bit, huh?
yeah. It's still in my blood, so I can get out there.
Every now and then you have to get out.
I got to get out
Nashville
there. Yeah,
and breathe again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, neat. Springfield Hatchery. Let's talk about that in just a minute, because it was the oldest hatchery, or is the oldest hatchery in Tennessee. What does it mean for it? It's a warm water hatchery. What does that mean exactly?
Well, it raises just warm water fish. It goes in our reservoirs and our agency lakes, basically.
What would they be? What's examples of a warm water fish?
We raise 15 species of warm water fish, and it starts out with walleye and sauger, northern largemouth bass, Florida largemouth bass, black-nosed crappie. We do a black crappie and a black-nosed mix at some of the hatcheries, and then channel and blue cat. We do some intensive culture with alligator gar, so it covers the gambit.
Where's alligator gar going? Where are we putting those?
They go to West Tennessee. I believe it's the Hiwassee, not the Hiwassee, but the Obion and
Hatchie?
The Hatchie.
The Hatchie,
yeah.
okay. All right, I knew it was one of those H words
Yep.
myself, and Hiwassee was in my head.
That was the wrong.
We were vibing anyway. Hatchie, yeah. All right. So that's warm water, and just we'll get back to Springfield in a minute. But what's cold water? What is that?
Basically, we do 4 cold water species. Of course, the most common is the rainbow, the lake, the brook, and
you do the brown? Do we
brown.
Do we raise some brown in Tennessee?
Just very few at basically Tellico.
Any lake trout anymore? Once upon a time, we stopped. You said lake. Okay, so we did. Where are we putting lake trout? Are they way over East Tennessee?
East Tennessee, and basically Dale Holla supports our waters pretty strongly, and they pretty much do the lake.
Dale Holla National Hatchery?
National Hatchery, yep.
Okay, all right. So that's the other thing. How many hatcheries in Tennessee?
There's 4 agency co-water hatcheries, and then we've got 2 federal hatcheries, Dale Holla National and Irwin National. And we also have the Gatlinburg hatchery that just stocks the Gatlinburg city limits of the streams. And then warm water, we actually got 5 hatcheries, and we got 2 rearing stations. But for reporting purposes, the Hiwassee and the Sugar Creek rearing stations, we really call them hatcheries, but they don't have facilities on them.
Okay, all right. And so Springfield, when I go to Springfield Hatchery, Jason and I were there a few weeks ago. Good show. Go back and watch it with Roger. We sat outside and talked to Roger about Springfield specifically. But what we saw looked like ponds. And then we go to somewhere like Flintville, and it looks like a bunch of, it's just long, narrow raceways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so why is that? Why are there ponds for one hatchery like on Springfield and raceways like on Flintville?
Well, at the co-water, you're using pretty much groundwater. That's a constant temperature, and it's a flow-through system.
Okay.
So what they do, Flintville and Buffalo Springs get eyed eggs. They hatch them inside the building, and at 3 or 4 inches, they move them out at the head of the raceway. And as they grow, they move them down the raceway. But that flow-through system, it's got a constant water temperature, and the DO stays constant until you get to the lower
dissolved
section.
Oxygen.
Yeah, the
okay.
dissolved oxygen.
Okay.
And in the warm water, it's pretty much farm ponds. We are in production for high numbers of small fingerlings, where the cold water is producing small numbers of large fish. So we can stock 100,000 striper fry in a pond and hopefully get out 50% of that. So we can produce more fish in the warm water than we can in the cold water, because most of the cold water fish that we stock are catchable. The warm water fish are usually 1.5 to 2-inch fingerlings, and they have to grow.
Need a few years to grow. Okay, so
Yep.
the trout you're seeing, if you go to somewhere like the Canic Fork River or any of the tailwaters over in East Tennessee that are so well known, you catch one about that long. Probably came out of our hatchery or Dale Holla National Hatchery.
Yep.
And the winter stocking program comes out of our hatcheries too, right? End up, I guess
Dale Holla does a little bit. It's mainly out of Flintville, and we actually transport trout to Humboldt so they can do distribution there for West Tennessee.
Okay.
And these are, stockable size, running 10 to 11 inches. We want these people to catch them. It's there for the anglers, and as the water temp rises, and they'll start stressing and eventually die. But so we want everybody in the winter trout program, the anglers, to catch all of them that we stock.
Okay, catch your 7 a day, no size limit, take home, eat, come back next day.
Yeah, and Flintville puts in a bonus fish. It could be 3 to 5 pounds on.
We got a video on TWRA TV showing one of them get caught this year.
On the Harpeth, I believe it was.
And that's mainly just in the winter trout program. They don't have a whole lot of them, so they slip one on the truck as a bonus.
The golden egg of trout fishing.
The techniques that y'all use in those hatcheries, the ponds versus the raceways, are the cold waters on raceways because that's more like the natural environment of those fish, flowing water, like a river system, or is it just
they pretty much swim into the flows, where in your warm water they're just going around in a circle, or they go to deep water during the day. At night they come up around the banks, and a lot of times we work at night light checking, see how our stocking numbers did, or we check fingerlings without having to seine a pond. So are two different animals there on how they react and how they're raised.
We're going to talk about the Florida bass here in a minute, because that's something that you've got going. You're excited about. Heard you giving a talk about the other. But before we get there, what are some of the things that you do have to face in a warm water? What are some of the things that you fight against every day?
Of course, it's the dissolved oxygen, and you could have 3 or 4 days of cloudy weather, no rain, and dissolved oxygen is produced by the phytoplankton. It's a real small algae. It keeps our ponds really green. You get cloudy days with no sun, it stops producing oxygen, and we can have an oxygen depletion. And of course, these heavy rains that we've had, it will actually push the phytoplankton down and cause a DO crash, or a lower amount of dissolved oxygen. And of course, in the spring, with all these heavy rains, it'll wash out the nutrients in these warm water hatcheries, and then your water clears up, and here comes algae vegetation. So it's a constant battle of those two main things. And then in striper, hybrid striped bass productions, the heat.
The heat, got to keep. What do you do in that? If you got a big pond and you maybe got the small creek coming into it to keep it up, what happens?
We got some maintenance water if our water supply is up, but they'll pretty much get accustomed to the warm water. It's just as water temp goes up, your dissolved oxygen normally goes down. So
I notice y'all agitate the water a lot.
Got the paddle wheel aerators. We've got Casco pond aerators that's electrical. So it's a constant battle with the environment.
And on that point, same with a pond owner out there, somebody that's put in this beautiful pond, and they've got all these great big bass in there, and bluegill and catfish, maybe crappie if their lake's big enough. Big mistake is not putting in an aerator in that pond.
Well, the best thing to do is start fertilizing it in March through October. And it's very simple. It's triple 15, 50 pounds per acre. And what that does is feed that phytoplankton, which produces the oxygen.
Okay.
And you could put in a pond aerator, especially during June, July, and August when it's really the hottest, and that's when your dissolved oxygen normally is low just because the water temp's high. But that would be helpful and supplemental.
But if you're doing what you just said, then they could survive that summertime heat in those cloudy days.
Yeah, and fertilizing also, like I said, it keeps that water green, and it keeps the vegetation from growing because it sheds the sunlight from going to the pond bottom. Most of your algae and your vascular plants come off the bottom.
Okay. All right. Is there a site? I get asked a lot about how many fish we're stocking and so forth. Is there a place on our website where they can find that information?
The warm water stocking, it's a PDF.
It's out there, though.
It's out there. We just put it up a couple of days ago.
I saw that.
Okay, it's got a hatchery truck there, and if you hit that tab, it comes up.
Look under for anglers.
Yeah,
I'm sure
under
it's
anglers,
under for anglers. Yeah. Okay, but it is out there. So are you updating it as you go, David? As you stock more fish, it's getting in there, and people can see where you're stocking them and how many you're putting in.
Yeah, Tracy Smith down in our IT department downstairs had just finished working with some online stocking for our hatchery managers, and she was able to build this PDF. So when they go online, enter their stocking date, it automatically goes in this PDF, and then I can just send it downstairs to our web.
That's awesome. She's a programmer for us. She does a great job. So it's there. How many fish, and I want to talk specifically in a minute about the Florida largemouth, but how many fish do we stock, warm water and cold water, every year on average?
Cold water is usually about 2.2 million.
Does that count Del Holla, working with Del Holla?
Yeah.
Okay.
The warm water, It's about 6.5 million.
6.5 million. That's a lot of fish.
Wow.
And I know you put them in as fingerlings, David, but do we know for sure if you put in 100,000 stripers on whatever lake, what's bar? Well, I don't want to put stripers in the lake where they're not, but 100,000 on Percy Priest because there's stripers in there. Do you know how many are gonna survive? Do we have an idea at all?
I'm not sure. I hope it be 25%, but we have stocked at ramps and seen fish come up and hit them, but a lot of times, especially the Florida largemouth, they'll school. And there's a place I used to stock down at Dayton Boat Dock that actually had a dock right at their ramp, and after we stocked, they would school and go under that dock. So it's hard to say. It's when they're ready to hit the reservoir, they're looking for a bigger food item than we've got in our warm water hatchery. So
you gotta let them go.
And
I've heard, is there some worry one of the many enemies you sort of fight in a hatchery is also their own cannibalization? If they get so large, will they start turning on each other?
Yeah, we call them jumpers, and we see that in the largemouth bass. I've actually seen it in crappie and also in sauger.
Jumpers?
Yeah, it could be genetics where one fish just grows faster than another, and they're piscivorous, so they'll feed on each other. So they'll be looking, once they get up past their food item in the pond, they'll be looking at their brothers and sisters.
Watch out. Start eating. So it's another reason you got to get them out of there so they don't start eating each other. Interesting stuff. All right. Tell us about largemouth bass. This has been going on now 3 or 4 years in Tennessee. Well, it's been going on longer than that. This pickup that you've done, what you're doing with the hatchery work and bringing more fish in, has been really ramping up in the last few years. But 10 or 12 years ago or so, we started stocking Chickamauga with the help of a fish group, or a fish club over there. Tell us about that and where have we gone? Where have we gotten to today?
Well, I guess the state record fired everybody up. The commission wanted to expand our program, so the fish division picked out 5 more reservoirs and 1 agency lake to stock. And pretty much we didn't have Florida bass brood, in our facilities. So probably for 10 or 12 years, we were getting them from Texas. And the first year that we started getting them from Texas, we FedExed them in, and they showed up 2 days later. And when the guy showed up at Springfield,
he signed for him.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, really. When he showed up at Springfield, he had the box on end, and it was between his front seats. And I go, oh no, because they should be laying flat. And of course, he was late, and he handed them to me, and you could already smell the dead fish in it. So that didn't work out good at all. I think we all had problems across the state with them. So we started employing Barbara Schaefer, our pilot, to fly to San Marcos to pick up our fry. So they boxed them up at 7 o'clock. We had them back in Tennessee at 1 o'clock, and they did great. And she did that probably for about 10 years. And then with this new expansion, I got a little bit scared because it went from 300,000 fry to us needing 1.2 million fry.
Well, let's back up. You're talking about the new expansion. The commission saying we need to put them in all on the Tennessee River, I think. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
So I'm going. Texas is not really willing to give us 1.2 million fry. So we've been in this. I think this is the 3rd year that we've done that expanding stocking. So made a contact Louisiana, and the hatchery manager, sure, we'll give you 800,000 fry. So that made the number, but a couple of times Barbara couldn't fly, and you can see the writing on the wall. We need 1 million fry, and we're already running into issues where she can't fly, and you're dependent on another state. And guess what? This year at Louisiana, they had a drought, and they couldn't give us any fry. So, and the fry this year was just back up to our facility. So I knew a couple of years ago we're going to have to do this ourselves. We're going to have to be more independent. So 2 years ago, the hatchery started setting back some of our fingerlings that we had raised for future brood. And so this year we were actually get the facility up and running.
Okay, let's back up on the facility. Where is this facility?
Okay, it's at Humboldt hatchery is right there at Humboldt Lake.
Okay.
It's the only place we could find had a big enough footprint. And initially we wanted to use the lake as a water supply, but we went ahead and just built a pond beside the facility. So we can use to fill up the raceways, we can bring that pond water in, fill them up, and they can use it as a multi-purpose. They can actually flow through just like a trout hatchery, but they want to do some experimentation with early catfish spawning, so with the water temp. So I know I'm bouncing around trying to put all this in perspective. So yeah, there was a major need that we'd have to be sole proprietor or
and to raise our own fish.
Yeah, raise our own fish. So our brood was 2 years old this year, and we weren't sure if they were going to, for one thing, spawn or produce the fry that we needed.
Okay.
So this was kind of a dry run. So we were able to get them in the facilities. We're able to have LED lighting in there, which is real important. There's no windows in this building. There's only like 4 doors, and if you go in there at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the lights off, you're going to get hurt because you can't see. So one of the ways to make these largemouth spawns is manipulate the light. So when we brought them in, we set the lighting up on 12 hours. We didn't have the mats in there from the spawn on, and we kind of acclimated them for about a week to 2 weeks. And then we just bumped up the lighting to 14 hours, dropped the mats in, they started spawning.
Oh, wow. That's
So,
neat.
yep.
You created your own time zone or whatever. Yeah. All
Yep.
right.
So all this is kind of research and experimenting. What are they going to do? And so we ended up with 80 spawns, which is just phenomenal. And we only had 60 females in the building. So
there's some of them twice or maybe 3 times.
literature is saying the female spawn 2 or 3 times because they're intermittent spawners. They just don't spawn or lay all their eggs at one time. So once they come in, the staff comes in the morning. They got flashlights. They look for the egg masses. They'll take that mat out, drop a new one in. It's pretty funny because the male will swim off. They'll grab that net. He'll come back, and I was going to, well, what is he thinking? Where did my eggs go? But he will come back and guard that, and actually go get another female a couple of days later. So we put those mats into a trough and then treat them with hydrogen peroxide. It's a very concentrated. It'll actually turn your skin white for as disinfectant. And then with our high water temp that we have to maintain, they'll hatch in 2 days, and in 6 days we pull them out and put them in our pond.
Wow.
The main reason for this building is to manipulate lighting, and also we've got to heat the water. It has to be at 72 degrees for all this to happen. Luckily, it's been warm this year, but next year we could have a real cold March, 40 or 50 degrees, and we're going to have to rely on a lot of we got hot water heaters and also air heaters in the building. You walk in, it feels like a sauna.
Okay. And no light in there. It's how big? 1,000 square feet? 500
It's
square feet?
5,000 square feet.
5,000 square feet. That's a pretty big building.
Yeah, the raceways are 70 feet long, 8 feet wide.
Okay.
And that's pretty much all it's in there. There's some filtration.
We need to go.
Yeah,
Jason and
let's
I
go.
want to go check that out and do some video. And
It's
put it on
a
some stuff.
fully recirculating hatchery. It's the only one in the United States on Florida largemouth recirculating facility.
Okay. And we
Wow.
built it? Did we actually build it, the agency, or
Yeah, we contracted out.
some of it?
Yeah, but the design was ours.
All right. That's awesome, David. So I think I heard you say at a meeting the other day with your counterparts across the state, fishery counterparts across the state, that you had raised $517,000 this first year with a goal of $1 million plus. Did I hear that right?
Yeah. Yeah, I would have been surprised we had one spawn, but we actually, in a month's time, was able to produce 517,000 fry. But we will need 1 million, 1.2 million. We're still trying to tweak our ponds. The first year that we on this expanded project, we had 75% return. Last year we had about 30. So we're trying to figure out what these ponds are doing. It's just like we discussed. It's environmental effects. So we need several years of consistent production.
Better. Yeah.
And we could drop that number, to 900,000 fry. To stock our reservoirs, we need 675,000 fingerlings.
Okay. And will you supplement this year, or just do the best you can this year and next year do better?
Well, actually, we went to San Marcos 2 weeks ago and picked up 500,000 fry to supplement because our bass were too small. We knew we weren't going to get the numbers.
Okay. The brood fish were too small.
Brood fish. So we're in brood maintenance now. We're into go fish spawning and koi spawning to cut cost, and the Humboldt hatchery will probably be spawning monthly.
Is that to feed them? Is that what you're saying?
That's
okay.
to feed them.
Okay.
So if we can put body weight on them, the literature says 4,000 eggs per pound of body weight per female. So as these things grow, we can get them about 3 or 4 pounds. That's an increase our egg number in our fry. So Texas has got some 17-year-old brood that they're still using, and they're running 5 and 6 pounds. So you don't need too many of those.
Did you spend some time in Texas or other places studying, or did you just get literature and study, or how?
I've been to 3 Florida bass facilities, so I was stealing ideas.
Okay, well that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, but all this is this research system is all new technology, and I was thrilled that it worked. What you have to worry with in a research facility is ammonia, and so we were watching that because we put koi in to inoculate the filtration system. So we were watching. We got a test kit. So these Florida bass do not like ammonia. So we really had to monitor that. I knew everything else would be in check, but ammonia was really a concern. So it worked out perfectly. So hopefully this will be consistent, but it's exciting stuff.
In the business now, producing Florida largemouth. And David, I guess that's part of the reason. There's 2 reasons coming to my mind quickly about why they won't be put in some places like the Cumberland River system. One is concern about how well they'll do there and what they might do to our native population and the other is just plain old hatchery space. You just don't have. You're doing everything you can to get what you got right now. Is that right?
We're maxed out, yeah.
Okay, so we are where we're going to be probably for a while on Florida largemouth bass.
Yeah, we're doing expansion at Normandy. We'll probably put a pond down there. Like I said, we're trying to evaluate how many ponds we need to get that 675. Mm-hmm. So we'll probably have a couple of surplus ponds in. It probably, but hopefully, will overproduce, which is okay. We got places for them to go within that stocking reservoir. But yeah, if all the biologists can get their number per acre they want of all species, I think the magical number is 10 per acre.
Yeah. Right
now we're about 3 million short of that. So that's why we're continuing to expand.
They all got what they want. It would be called the hatchery state. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's be that many hatcheries because the guys out there in the field, they want to get fish for their folks to fish. They want to get them, and it's just hard to get everything. But David, y'all are putting in a lot of great fish.
It's amazing what y'all are doing.
Yeah, it really is. It's amazing what they do with the staffs they got. And going back to Springfield, where we sort of started, there's 2 folks running Springfield Hatchery, and that's what it was your entire career there too. 2 folks running that entire hatchery that was created in 1935 and needs a lot of work. And every time something broke down, y'all had to fix it.
Yeah, and I guess you were up there and saw the pond liners. Something happened over the years after they constructed, and these springs started coming up in the bottom of the ponds. And when you fill the pond up, it's a wet weather spring, but it's there all the time. But when you filled them up, the pressure reversed, so we were losing water in the pond, losing our nutrients, and productivity went down. So we had to line them, and that entire hatchery is done by agency personnel.
Yeah, we got out there and lined it up. Somehow I missed out on that, but I understand it was very difficult work to put those ladders.
There's a lot of people who won't talk to me anymore.
Davey did great. There's other things that we could talk about. I wanted to get more into the future of hatcheries, but we'll get you back on here and talk to you more. So great job.
Yeah, great work y'all are doing out there.
Yeah,
I look forward to seeing that Humboldt facility. That'd be a great Wildcast Extra we can do.
Yeah, just let us know, Dave. We're going, okay?
Sure thing.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Go out on the site. If you'll see what's getting stocked, we'll put some information out there, make it easy for you. But you can find it on tnwildlife.org under 4 anglers at the top of the page.
Yes, 4 anglers. And in that tnwildlife.org, you can find this show and all the past shows.
You got a lot of great shows out there, just like David. Go watch them and listen to them, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, keep following us on social media. Yeah.
Free Fishing Day, June 10th.
June 10th.
Yep.
Thank y'all.